Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2019 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are live at Silvery Speedway at 30th and High School in the town of Indiana. If you're in town, PRI show, you've got to take some time when they shut down. Right out here. It's just about 2 miles straight west of the Speedway. Great food, great service, and the adult beverages. Nice. Tonight's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor NTT INDYCAR Series, and SRA. I got a couple things to mention. When dental work done tomorrow, you got to go to the dental group. Dr. Jack Miller and Dr. Liz Lewis have a phenomenal practice. Get up there, make an appointment. Call the numbers 317-846-6125. Trust me when I tell you, if you do dental work, that's the place to go. Finally, thanks to Will, Autosportradio.com website is back working. On about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. So it's back up and running. And if you look there today, which you probably didn't, hadn't heard, Connor Daly is full season ride for road courses with Ed Carpenter. Great deal to see him back in the car. On January the 4th at the Grant King Race Shop, there will be a memorial for John Martin. I think sure most of you here know who John Martin is. He passed away a couple weeks ago. Have a memorial for him at the Grant King Race Shops, which is located at 155 Crawfordsville Road. 115. 5. Go 1. Anyway, 1 to 5 at the Grant King Shops memorial for John on January the 4th. If you haven't heard yet the beep line, you got to go hear them. They're somewhere. They're playing in and around here. Excuse me, is that me?
That's the beep line. That's the beep line. There you go.
Oh, yeah, it probably is. Anyway, if you had noticed, it was just announced today that the starting time of 4 races has been changed. And the events that have changed the starting time are St. Pete, Coda, Iowa, and Mid-Ohio. All their times have changed, and I think for the better. And somebody said, why do you think they did that? Simple, television. So that's probably what happened. Now my first 2 guests. One guy drove 13 hours to get here, and his wife suffered the whole time. They had to go off the interstate on 70 and go around through some towns. They ended up in an antique shop. Good move. Had lunch at a Panera Bread. That was an hour and a half. So they've been driving. She got up at 3:30 in the morning, and he called me up and said, can we do it early? Sure, absolutely. So he's here tonight. The CEO of the SVRA. He's been here several times, and there's some neat stuff to talk about. Please welcome Tony Parella. And since he works so hard and drives a lot and spends a lot of time in the cars, he decided he needed the president of the organization. And he looked all the way around to Indianapolis and found the perfect guy to do it. Please welcome the president of SVRA, Matt Breeden. Now, something I got to ask you. You bought SVRA, you've built it huge. And what is it, too much? You had to get a president to take some of the load off? Is that the deal? You got married and your wife said, now, wait a minute, sport.
Surprisingly enough, yes. It's really a combination of things. Number one, in that process, we also bought Trans Am.
Yes, you did.
And so, that's taken some of my focus. But the biggest reason is the day-to-day stuff has gotten so big and so much of a workload, it was taking me off of the focus of the strategic stuff and the sponsors. And at the end of the day, I'd rather have Matt run the day-to-day stuff and let me focus on the deal-making and the strategic stuff, number one. But also, when I started out, it was basically a lemonade stand. It's become a company, and I had to have a succession plan in place. I'm 60.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, I'm not planning on going anywhere, but
did you know he was that old? Oh, you did? Okay, well.
So, I mean, I'm not planning on going anywhere, but at the same token, you know, you want to make sure that the work you've done is really handed and handled properly in case something does happen. None of us have a guarantee. So, you know, in the early days, I couldn't afford a president, and we really weren't big enough to justify one. But it's gotten to the point where I get so many emails, so many voicemails, you know, from fans to sponsors to drivers. I couldn't reach. So this was a logical step in our evolution.
Well, I asked Matt, you're still here in town, yeah? Do you have time? Has Tony allow you time? He said, anytime you want me for lunch, I'm not that busy. All right, I lied.
Always time for you, Don.
Yeah, right. What have you found since getting to the lofty perch, right under him, of course, as president that you didn't expect? Anything?
I think that the passion in the paddock is probably been the most surprising part of this job. It's incredible how you walk around and every single person that you talk to has a story about their race car or the race car next to them, or 30 years ago we did this and we did this, and that level of passion for the SVRA and for vintage racing is something that I didn't necessarily expect. I expected them to be proud of their car, but not necessarily to be so proud of the product and what they represent in the SVRA. So that's been incredibly powerful.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, one of the things that kind of harnessing that is we're going to do a much better job telling that story to the public. You know, to this point, you know, we've had a lot of competitors involved in our series, but for 2020 and going forward, we really want to tell the public how incredible the competition and the people are in the SVRA. So that's going to be one of our big pushes for 2020. It's all about, you know, more fan engagement.
What is your background in motorsports? I mean, you look to me like you might have played basketball or you were a volleyball player or something. How did you get into motorsports?
A little bit of high school basketball, but my motorsports background, my father was an INDYCAR team owner. He was partners with Tony Bettenhausen and Bettenhausen Motorsports. I was fortunate enough to get hired on at Champ Car as their general counsel coming straight out of law school.
Wait a minute. Your lips are moving and you're an attorney.
I am indeed.
Oh,
I am indeed.
man.
I'm a recovering attorney.
Does that, in your position, help you with the fact that somebody tried to do something and said, no, wait a minute?
I think being an attorney, there's a way that attorneys think that can be very practical when it comes to business. There's an analytics that certainly helps. So for sure.
Now, Tony, you have said that you kind of backed away from the day-to-day operations, and you didn't pull her from the day-to-day operation. When you go to a RaceTrack, she's there, right?
She's still very much involved with the day-to-day operations.
Are you nice to her? I mean, taking 17 hours to get here for a 9-hour trip.
I think I'm very nice to her.
Okay. I still am going to tell you, and nobody's listening, you're the luckiest guy I know. You've done good.
Agreed.
And if anybody that goes to the SVRA when they're here and they have a problem, you'll end up talking to Kim, and she'll listen to you. When you leave, you'll have a smile on your face. She doesn't yell, except at me. I mean, what are you doing? But she's great, and the people you have working with are great. Now, you left to do some sales. I'm not a genius, but I can read. You've done pretty good so far. First off, one of the major sponsors you acquired is Remington Firearms. Did you get a lot of feedback on that?
I get feedback on everything, Don. No matter, that's what makes this country so great. Everybody has, you know, they're either on one side of the guns or the other. It seems there's no middle ground. And so when I signed Remington, in my mind, Willie T, Theo, we're going to have a clay shooting contest at VIR. They have a gun range. I'm all fired up. And then I got, you know, what are you, nuts? So racing, and now we're bringing guns. What does that have to do with it? And You know, the truth of the matter is Remington's a 200-year-old company that employs how many thousands of people, and they defend our country, and there's people who hunt, there's people who clay shoot. I'm not a hunter, but I don't care if that's what somebody wants to do. This is America. We're supposed to be able to do that. At the same token, I'm not a big fan of automatic weapons. I don't get that. It doesn't do anything for me. So I guess I'd be a guy that's middle of the road. But yeah, I took some colorful hits on social media over that. But you know what's funny? For every one hit I took, I probably had 10 people say, he's running a race business. What's the issue? And yeah, and this just goes with the territory. As we become more and more relevant, you know, social media is a double-edged sword. When things are great and the view of the world of you that you're a genius, great. Every once in a while, you'll step in something that's controversial, even if you're trying to do the right thing, you're going to take your licks. And like I said, I'm thankful that I live in this country. It's okay. I'm thankful that I live in this country that allows me and allows people to voice their opinion. You can actually have an opinion in this wonderful nation, and there's places around the world where you're not entitled to an opinion.
Yeah. And the other, there's two more that I'm aware of that you've signed recently. One of them is they build some vehicle, marathon, that's what it is, a motorhome. Now, when you get a marathon, that's top of the line.
I think they should give me a coach, and I think NetJet should give me a plane. I mean, what's the problem? And then I wouldn't have had to drive 15 hours today.
That's true. Or if you had the motor coach, she could lay back in the suite.
And honestly, Jaguar should give me a car, and I'm thinking, well, she did get a Land Rover, but I had to pay for it. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, you know, the funny thing is, I'm really thankful, and I mean this sincerely. We have carved out a niche. It's obvious. When all of motorsports seems to be struggling in some way, shape, or form, we've been blessed enough to just every week almost, it seems, that a new sponsor has come on. And it's very simple why. We connect a very, very big national demographic that has money to luxury brands and race-related brands that want to have an opportunity to sell my customers. It's that simple. And we build the systems, we work our tail off to connect the two. And that's the secret sauce. It's not stick a logo on a car. It's not, you'll get this many impressions. It's really connecting business to business, customer to business, that makes it work. If they weren't making money, they wouldn't be sponsoring us, I promise you. And that, we have really worked hard. Every time I sign a new customer or sponsor, it's normally under the heading of a proof of concept. I'll say, look, I want to map this out. We're going to build a report card for you, and we're going to track every way that we've said you get these entitlements. If we have to tweak it mid-year, we will. That's the reason Jaguar Land Rover's going in their 7th year with me. NetJet's their 5th year. Bell Helmet since the inception. Sunoco for the last 5. I mean, they're not going anywhere because they do well with us, and we really, really work hard to do a good job for them. It's not just thank you for the money, send the check here. We earn our check.
And the latest one I saw, I think just came out today, which you told me was coming. Just strangely enough, an Indiana company out of South Bend, a family-owned business called Tire Rack.
Yeah, you know, this
How
one.
How did you get from Romulus, New York to South Bend? How did that happen?
You know, I've been working that one for a while. It's been a 2-year process to get them. They were involved with the SCCA and grassroots racing, and they're really big race fans. They appreciate it, and we've been working it, and finally it came together. So when you're ready to buy tires, I'll take good care of you.
Ooh. Nobody else heard that, so it's just.
You'll get free valve stems.
You know, it's interesting to me because if you read your bio, which is about 7 pages, your companies, 2 or 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken, were rated as of the top 50 in America to work for. Now, until I read that, I wasn't that impressed with you. Then I read this and, geez, all these people like working for him? He must be a pretty good guy. But that tells me that you know how to work and how to treat people and how to, take care of them so that they like working for you and they want to work for you. In fact, to the point, she wanted to work for you so bad she married you. Now, I don't know. I was trying, but I failed.
That was a blessing for sure. The funny thing about my philosophy on managing or leading people or working with people stems from my upbringing. It's that simple. My dad worked for a power company for 42 years in upstate New York, and he truly loved his company. And the reason he loved his company is because his company had the foresight to throw away the HR manual because we had special circumstances at home. I required surgeries that we went to Montreal, Canada. I had 48 of them. His policy was they got 1 week's vacation a year. Miraculously, my dad was at every day I was in the hospital in Canada. He never missed a day. He never got docked a penny. But yet, he was also on call the rest of the year. When there was a gas leak, he would get called out and he would go. And I'm telling you, Christmas, New Year's, their anniversary, somebody's birthday, and his mantra was, if you take care of the company takes care of you. And that was ingrained in me. I got out to the world, that isn't what I saw. Frankly, with layoffs and cutbacks and all this stuff, and it's almost at the expense of the employee. So here we are. I've done that in telecom, but in racing it was different because I bootstrapped this business. It was little when we started, and it's starting to get legs. And it's hard to have that balance between taking care of your employees, giving them a vested interest in the business, and having their leftover enough money to invest capital to grow the business so it's healthy. And I think, some of the years the employees did better than others. Some of the years the company won a little bit in a sense at their expense. But I think we're finally pushing through that the vision I have to become a best company on this side of it with racing. I think Trans Am, SVRA, Parella Motorsports in general, I think it's very much in our future that we won't be on the big board because you have to be $100 million or you have to have 1,000 employees. I won't be here for that. But I do think we can become a best small company in America. And I will predict right here on this radio show that will happen in the next couple of years. I can see the pieces coming together that we can really afford to invest in the team, because I got great people. I mean, it's easy to say you have great people, but this group is really special, and they really put a lot into the customer experience, which is sometimes you go deal with a company and the employees aren't motivated, the customer experience isn't so great. These guys are tired, they're on their feet 15-hour days for the weekend, they're getting it from all ends, and they handle it professionally. Frankly, they got more patience than I do most days.
And that was, in my mind, the main reason you got away from day to day. He's better at that than you are. Because I've been in and somebody comes in and they're giving Kim, what the heck, we got to grab her. You're standing there going, oh, I better leave. Or something's going to go on. Are you feeling what he's trying to accomplish with the company since you haven't been here for all that long? You just joined it, 4 or 5 months ago?
About 5 months ago. And that was one of the things that was really important to me before I started, was that Tony and I were on the same page with where the SVRA is going and Parella Motorsports is going overall, is that we shared that vision. So I feel like, we're certainly on the same page. We're in lockstep there. I just want to go back, when Tony talks about his management style, he really is a master motivator. He's incredible at guiding people and at empowering people. He's always going to let his employees make the decisions, and then he's going to back them up as far as he can. And that, to me, was really, really a testament of who he is as a person and as a leader. And one of the reasons that, after talking with employees and people that have worked for him, that this is someplace I want to be.
All 17 employees. Did you have to talk to them all at once, or?
Well, it's funny. Talking to all of our people at once is a challenge because they're all over the country.
I know. Have you upped the grade? Are you up to 20 yet?
No.
Oh, 12.
We're not even close to 20. I think, how many do we have, 11?
Yeah,
I think we have 11.
You had to have a president for 11 people? You could have got me. I'd have been a hell of a lot cheaper, probably. Of course, you'd have been in trouble, but about the second month, you'd be in trouble.
I'm building for the future.
I see. I got a couple of questions for you.
Yes, sir.
That have come up. I've seen and I've gotten emails and text messages, although getting a text message on my flip phone ain't a prize. But I've gotten a lot of stuff because I post all the stuff that comes up, what you're doing, where you're going. Usually I have 2 Facebook pages, and occasionally I'll put it on my website when it was working. I just saw a guy just the other day said, I'm not going to SVRA anymore because the way they treat the campers. And I said, now wait a minute. I'm not sure how this works, but I have a feeling that's not SVRA. That's the Speedway's camping, I assume. Or do you, of your 11 people, you got 2 of them out there waving people where to camp?
I think I know who that guy is. I talked to him.
So did I.
Yeah, I got a somebody posted on Facebook, I'm never coming back because the showers are bad in turn 4 or something. I don't remember. This was about a year ago. And I said, I don't even know how to turn on Facebook, but I said, tell Mark Dill, give me the guy's phone number, I'll call him. And I called him, and he was actually mad at 2 things. One was because we didn't have a Friday as part of the deal. We only did sales for tickets on Saturday and Sunday. But what I told him is, well, Friday's free this year. So you can still come, it's free. And I'm not going to charge you, but we're going to limit access so you can come for free because it just didn't make sense to have 8 million yellow shirts for a few people who come on Fridays. So I'm going to let you come in free. But he didn't think that was good. So, okay. And then he got mad at the showers, and I said, look, it's kind of like this. If you go camping in a state park and you don't like the shower, would you build a shower? What makes you think I own IMS? I rent it for a weekend. I rent it. I didn't buy it. I rent it. Call Roger now. It's not my problem. And so, I mean, it's not, but I tried to listen to him. I said, look, aren't you local? He goes, yeah, I'm local. I said, well, you know what, why don't you come as my guest? I'll give you a ticket. Come in as my guest. Let's chat about it. But then I said, I'll try to see if I can get temporary showers for the Speedway. And to be honest with you, they had other priorities. And I welcome to the real world. If 10 people come for camping, you're not going to spend crazy money on showers, just business. It's not that they're not focused. They got other stuff they got to do, like the 500 and other stuff. And so I was supposed to call them back, and to be honest with you, I didn't. I didn't get to it. It is what it is. But we really, honestly, I mean, the fact that I called the guy should tell you something. I have nothing to do, but I really, honest to God, make a concerted effort to not want, and he's picked up. That's part of it. The day-to-day stuff like that sucks the life out of you and your time. So he's been getting them. As we get these now, I'll see an email response like, oh, good for you. You took that one. I don't need to deal with it. But it's part of it. I mean, no matter what you do, if you're serving the public, you're going to have some folks that aren't happy. I really make a concerted effort to make every single customer happy. But it's a hard thing to live up to.
All right, I scratched that off the list. How's Trans Am doing? Is it doing what you thought? Now, when you bought that, there was an anchor attached to it, I'm sure. It's called Willie T.
You know what? Trans Am has been the biggest blessing to the two together. Trans Am and SVRA together gives us something that nobody in motorsports has. And but if you think about this from a business perspective, INDYCAR, NASCAR, IMSA, Formula One, they all have one thing in common that Trans Am does not have: manufacturer support. Think about it. They are all funded, and funded huge with manufacturer support. So I looked at Trans Am and I'm going, holy crap. I remember watching Parella and Mark Donahue and George Former at Watkins Glen as a kid in the late 60s, thinking that was my exposure to racing. This series is huge, it's got to be fixed. But when you looked at the math, it was dying on the vine. There's no way with 60 cars going to a race that they could afford to rent Indianapolis Motor Speedway or Watkins Glen or COTA. There's no way in hell. They'd have to charge $20,000 entry fees, and that's not possible. But when you put it with SVRA, I could spread it out where I could sell tickets to the Trans Am. There's still a huge following, huge. It would enhance our show, give me an anchor tenant at each of these tracks, and the combination, I got guys that are racing in Trans Am and SVRA the same weekend now. Our TA2 class has gone through the roof because it's you can buy a brand new car for $115,000, $120,000, which is a lot of money, but for racing, it's very inexpensive entry for a brand new car that can run up front. It's become a test ground for road racing for NASCAR kids. And it's really booming. It took me a couple of years frankly, when I bought it, we couldn't afford it. it was because we do everything out of the till. We don't have that. And we really probably weren't ready to bite it off, but I knew we had to figure out a way to do that. So it's been a tough road for a couple of years to shoulder that as we're cleaning it up, but we're through that now. And I've not been more optimistic about our growth than I am right now. It's like all the clouds are clearing up, the sun's coming out, and you watch what happens with Trans Am. Trans Am is gonna rocket right next to SVRA in the next couple of years. It's a cool show, really is a cool show.
All right, and I know you've heard this as well. What the hell happened to IndyCars? Where did they go? And I'm sure you've seen, I've gotten a boatload of stuff on social media. I'm not coming, no more IndyCar, that's it.
Well,
I'll show up. But
I've gotten an education putting on 7 races at this city. You rent Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I won't tell you what the rental is, but let's just say it's pricey. You rent that place down the street. It's not for the faint. I write a very, very big check. And as I should, it's Indy, for God's sakes. When I would put out the Roadsters, I had 2 things. First year I did, everybody experienced the oval. Everybody. And everybody told me not to do that, but I said, how the hell can you go to Indy and not drive on the oval? I want to do it. So we did. And I had some guys that just didn't get the memo. Don't pass in the corners, hold your line, behave. But, they were going to be the next Pernelli Jones or AJ or whatever. And so I had incidents, and I got to clean it up. It delays. It takes away from all the guys there. Over time, then I said, okay, I'm going to do just Roadsters, so they'll behave themselves. I gave them all a garage, charged them $500. They got 3 sessions in 2 days and bought them dinner. And plus we had a concourse show where I brought in former Indy drivers to judge the cars. I think I did a lot. And last year, I put the invitations out, and 4 guys responded with a month to go. 4. And now, if I take an hour and a half of track time at that speedway for 4 guys, that doesn't pay for a corner worker, let alone all the other expenses. So I said, this just doesn't make sense. So we didn't do it. Now this year I'm having the Shelby Club of America is going to have a national meet here, and there'll be 400 of them in the infield, a car show, very interesting for fans. But I won't have the 4 Indy Roadsters this year. I will do Roadsters again. I absolutely will. I will not. What I won't do is put ground effect cars on that oval again. And frankly, Legends Day, there was an issue again. You cannot, if you don't have a way to magnaflux those chassis, check the driver credentials for one time. I don't have these guys in my database. I can't vet them. They don't have a license, but they think because they can spend $200,000 or $300,000 on a car that they have a God-given right to go around that speedway. Not on my watch. It's not going to happen. It's not, because I learned the hard way that they don't listen, and they don't have any way to vet. I'm not going to let somebody get killed on my watch for their ego. I just won't. So unfortunately, I've pissed off a few, and I don't want to do that, but I have made a few upset with me. It's not that I don't. Who loves IndyCar more than I do? Did anybody notice the V-Rock race? I take every legend who's ever run here that'll answer the phone. I bring them in for the fans. We give the money away that comes with it. Yet I don't care about IndyCar because I won't let 6 guys or 4 guys out on the oval with a roadster that don't do the right thing. I'm doing the best I can.
Well, hopefully, people that were complaining are listening or watching tonight, because I haven't heard that before. I didn't realize that. Now, as you know, and as I do as well, and so does Mark, Classic Racing Times has stopped their shows. Now, they got some good draws. I mean, they drove 25, 30 cars, but he apparently isn't as well versed in sales as you are, or hasn't, because he runs another business as well. He's got a lot of things to do. So there's probably 30, 35 guys that own cars would probably like to go somewhere. And I don't know what's going to happen with that, if anything, but I hadn't heard the reasoning. I mean, I've heard some guys that made some stupid moves that you banned them at that, and that I agreed with. If you can't use your head, something in between your ears, get out of here, because you're going to hurt yourself or somebody else. And several guys have damaged some very expensive cars to the tune of a bunch of money to fix them. But anyway, are you ready to drive one of these things? I know he is. Are you ready, Matt?
Absolutely. You got a car for me?
No, but he's got about 6 of them. He'll give you one.
He's not driving my cars.
That's where the trust ends.
He can run the company, but he ain't driving my cars.
Have you added your car collection yet? I mean, you moved up to north, up north in Romulus, New York. Have you got a 17-car garage for some new toys?
I have a 3-car garage, and one of them spots is taken up by a Land Rover.
And the other 2 have got the one you drive the car and you lift it up and you drive the other one underneath it.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, not yet.
No.
Okay. What do you look forward to adding to what you're doing now? The Trans Am, I think, I can remember back in, as they say now, the day that you go to a Trans Am race, there's a slew of people there. And there's still some of the guys that were good at it. Some guy, when he won a race, he jumped up and down on the hood of the car and all that. He's still around. And I've noticed he's kind of quieted down because his wife is bigger than he is. And I think he gets out of line. Whap! He's supposed to be here. He may be around next week. I'm not sure. I've been in touch with him.
He's out promoting his movie. His movie gets released in a few weeks. We're talking about Willie T. You know, it's really, there's so many great drivers that came through Trans Am. Well, in fact, Wally Dallenbach Jr., Ron Fellows, Willie, they're all racing in the V-Rock again this year here. And it's just really been a good combination of the two together. But I think our future is extremely bright. We've really done it on our own without, as I said, without the manufacturer support. And I think the manufacturers will come. Before it's over with, I will get them to the table, but we'll get them to the table where it's a level playing field, and the money that we take in will go to the racers. I think Trans Am's going to be very, very special. You'll see live streaming. One of the things I'm investing in this year, I constantly, another thing I get on social media, why aren't you on TV? Where can we see you? I hear you. I've figured out how to do that. So we'll be doing live streaming this year. At 10 of the races at SVRA and Trans Am are together. We filmed 3 pilot shows for a actual TV series that goes behind the scenes of a racer what they do for, like, you know, Dr. Claire down in Dallas, he's a neonatal surgeon, yet he races a big block with Johnny Rutherford here at the VROC race. So we followed them through a weekend. So with that show, we're hoping to get a deal put together this year at one of the networks, either cable or one of the other networks. We're just going to keep working hard. I think you'll see our gate now that we've got done paying for Trans Am. I think you'll see me invest very heavily in our promotion. You know, everything is a balance, and until you're ready to do it, you can't spend it. We're ready to do it. I think you'll see us promote. I'm very excited about Mr. Penske taking over this place. I think if you search the globe, you couldn't have a better steward for this place and for IndyCar. You know, I don't know. I haven't seen one negative thing about Roger taking this over, and I'm going to have the privilege of doing some stuff at Detroit, Trans Am and IndyCar together at Belle Isle, and I'm actually bringing historic Trans Am into that race as well. So I think the sport is going through some pretty interesting gyrations, but him taking IndyCar, I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome.
I thought it was interesting. I was at the press conference, and somebody asked him, you know, what are you thinking about this now that you're a team owner, you got 3 cars and all of that? He said, well, I'm going to back away, but two things. One is I know where pit number 1 and number 2 are, and I've found my way to the victory lane. So he said, I pretty well know how to move around here. But he also said he's backing off from the team. He will not be on this. I mean, I'm sure he'll be wandering around somewhere, but back away. And I got to think that if his cars suddenly win everything in sight, there's going to be people naturally say, oh, sure. But I don't know that that's...
He's got too much integrity.
Oh, I think without question.
The big picture is so much bigger than an individual win. It's preserving this great institution, and frankly, not just preserving it, growing it.
And he will.
And I think his relationships in business is the one guy who could take it at any state and make it better almost overnight. I think that guy can do that.
And it was announced today that there is now a title sponsor for the Indianapolis Grand Prix. It's connected with AMR, which is the safety people, and I think their prime company is now the sponsor of that event. So things are moving forward quickly. Do you anticipate at any time putting Trans Am on its own, have its own series? When you're not running, they could run elsewhere?
It is its own series now. We run some non-SVRA events. The key to it is sanctioning fees. Trans Am was not scaled enough to command a track to pay them to come in to sell tickets. They weren't at that level yet. They're on their way to that. We got our first, we got one race in 2020 that's paying a sanctioning fee, so I didn't have them run with SVRA. I think Trans Am future is incredible. We're going to do some licensing around the world for the Trans Am name. I think you'll see the series, you know, the heyday was the late 60s, early 70s. It was re-energized again with Willie in the 80s. I think we will surpass everything that's been in history and grow well past that. Just need time.
Now, do you stick your look over his shoulder at the SVR, Trans Am, I mean? Are you involved with the operation of that?
On the periphery, for sure. I mean, it's a part of what we do on the race weekends. I mean, our global brand for what we do on the race weekend is Speed Tour. We've got the Speed Tour Quarterly, which is our magazine, and then where we feature SVRA and Trans Am and IGT together. Those are Speed Tour weekends, and to the extent that Trans Am success and SVRA's success are directly tied together. So I'm definitely closely involved there with Trans Am, but John Claggett's there running the day-to-day, and you know, fortunate enough that he and I are good friends and go way back, so work pretty well together.
What do you mean way back? You're not that old. It isn't that far back.
25 years.
I got shoes that are 25 years old, and I wear them. You know, Since the first day I met you, Tony, I've been impressed with who you are, what you do. You're a diehard fan and want everything to succeed, want everybody to be happy, and you have the perfect person when somebody comes in with a problem. She takes care of it when they check in and whatever they're doing, complaining about. You know, I've just been impressed with everything you've done, and needless to say, since you have vacated the daily operation and have been knocking on people's doors and driving all over the country, I might add, your salesmanship is showing through, which was never a surprise that wouldn't happen. And I can see nothing but bigger and better things in the future for SVRA and Trans Am and the Speed Tour Quarterly. If you haven't subscribed to this magazine, that's a mistake. Do you hear me, Howdy? You need to subscribe to this magazine. I think you could still read. Not real good. I don't know, $1.50? I don't know.
How much is our magazine?
Did you get a copy of the magazine? Well, it'll tell you in there.
$44 a year.
There you go. You're going to get a pay raise from Social Security so you can handle it. I thank you for being here. I know you'll be, where are you going to be located at the PRI show?
We are in booth 7104. What is it? 7014. 7014. I was close. We have Trans Am and SVRA together. Come on by. It's just should be a very important show for us. We have back-to-back meetings, and as I said, I've not been more excited, but I have to say, we were talking about it on the way up here. I appreciate you having us on. This has become just important to us that we make our stop here around PRI. You're always so gracious to us when we have the V-Rock race and our race here in June, and we don't take it for granted. We appreciate your support.
It's my thrill. I'm looking for the day when there's standing room only over here. The stands are full.
That's a big place to fill the standing room only, but we are. I'm telling you, you watch this year. Mark my words. We're going to have a big year.
And when are you here this year?
June, Father's Day weekend. I'm back on my normal date, which I really like. I agree.
You know the sad part about the president of your organization? He lives here. And I've got his cell number.
Get him, man. Get him.
And I'll get him off the golf course. Well, he won't be playing golf now.
You don't have time to go golfing, I can tell you that.
He is not a golfer.
Oh, you're not?
Not anymore.
Oh, I see, yeah. All right, I thank you for your time. And believe it or not, folks, he called and said, if you'll have us on, we'll come in a day early. He did. He came in. She wasn't happy about it. 3:30 in the morning. I'm only kidding. But he did come in a day early to do this, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Tony Parella, the CEO of SVRA, and Matt Green, the president. Thanks. My next guest will be coming up. I want to mention to you, if you haven't been over to the museum, they have what's called the Vault. They're bringing cars out of the basement and showing them. And I have to mention, there was some discussion about the originality of one of the vehicles, and somebody made a comment about it. The executive director of the museum apparently thought about it, and they got together on last Thursday, and the guy who was indicating that the car that they're saying is the winner isn't, and they found out they were wrong, and they corrected that. And they have found another car that was displayed as a winner and found that it was not, and the winner is on its way if it isn't here already. So, there are people like myself. I was at the races. I saw the cars. Would I know them now? Not a chance. But there are people that do know. And it was important that if you're going to say it's a winner, say it and have it right. And the museum met with the man, and they said, you're right. You were right. This was not the winner, is not the winner. And it's been changed. So my hat is off to the guy who did that, who is also a banjo player, a git fiddle player, a drummer, a keyboard artist, and he sings. Even better now that he's got new teeth. Phil Kaiser was the one who's concerned about it, and he would prove to be right. But again, my head is off to the museum. They met with him and they said, "You're right. We didn't know it. Now we do." So I want to remind you that if you want to find out what people like about the open wheel Indy cars, you can take a ride in one, the two-seater. Just go to IndyRacingExperience.com and look up a date that works for you. They run at the Speedway, and then they run at all the tracks that the Indy cars run at. You go to SVRA, IndyCarRacingExperience.com, pick out a date, and in the promo box put SJ1. You get a 50% discount. Or you can call Shonda at 317-243-7171. I've never found anybody that took a ride that went, "That wasn't worth anything." It was phenomenal. So get your chance, do it. Are you looking to buy a vintage car? If you got one you need it restored, there's one place to go. You can build the engine, rebuild the car. They got it all. The Grand King shops down on Crawfordsville Road, 8155 Crawfordsville. Call them. 317-820-3959. Tell them what you got or what you need, and they'll take care of it. And while you're in town for the PRI show, you want to take a tour, they have a limousine. They'll pick you up at your hotel, 6 to 8 guys, gals, and they take a tour of the shop. You go to Grand King shops and a couple others, and they'll drop you back. Again, call them. Talk to them. 317-820-3595. My next guest is a guy that, I don't know. I met him 25 years ago when I was a kid, or he was a kid, I mean. And he gave me a shirt.
Wait a minute. Matt's not old enough to have known somebody 25 years, but I am?
He's 5 months older than me.
Do you know this guy?
It's just,
Yeah,
it's just because
no wonder you got out of it. Oh, boy.
I want to interrupt. This isn't fair. Tony Parella is easily one of the smartest, if not the smartest man I've ever met in my life. And Matt is easily the prettiest man I've ever met in my life. So I am doomed from the start. There is nothing I'm going to do that's going to work up here. Look at his hair. He's got great hair. Look at my hair.
Prettiest?
He's pretty. He's smart, too. But he's pretty.
Dave, I'm starting to wonder about you now. Anyway, when I went to one of his operations, he gave me a shirt. And I said, "What in the hell is this? IKDD." It says, "I know Dave Dusick." I said, "Oh, boy." So I wore it a couple times. I can't wear it anymore. I had to get rid of it. I had so many tomatoes and stuff thrown at me, I couldn't get the stains out and throw the shirt away. But this young man has done phenomenally well. We'll talk about his upcoming Thursday night at the Speedway, his Dave Dusick Foundation fundraiser, of which every dime goes to Riley. We'll talk about that. But he is also an electronics wizard, and they perform audio work at every speedway, every track, every racing series. If there's sound and music, and they do it. I'm pleased to have him here. He came back from Florida, not for this, but he was down in Florida. So I'll be back on Thursday. Oh, okay. Will you still be here Tuesday? Yeah, I'll stick around.
I don't love you as much as Tony. I couldn't come home early. Dude, it's cold. It's like 75 degrees colder today than it is where I'm going to be in Florida. It's cold there.
All you do is complain.
I know, I'm sorry.
Please welcome Mr. Dave Dusick. Now, what got you started in noise? Do you sing?
Not very well.
Okay. Then how did you get into the sound world? And when you tell them some things you're working on down in Florida, these people are going to be astounded, as I was. But how did you get into the sound part of it? Obviously, you didn't drive.
I learned something every time I come on this show with you. I feel bad for these poor folks because so many of these people have heard me tell the same stories over and over and over, especially poor Billy Throckmorton. He's heard most of my stories after a few beers too, so. But I said something one time I was on your show. You asked me a question about being involved in all these different things, and off the cuff, I answered the question, and I'll never forget it because it stuck with me. I just said yes. When I was, I dropped, you asked a short question, I'll give a long answer, but I was an intern at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I wanted video boards. This is 1996, and video boards, there were no video boards at IMS at the time, and I went to my boss, Kevin Forbes, the great Kevin Forbes, and said, Forbes, we need video boards. And I'm a 19-year-old kid, right? He says, that's a great idea, Dave. Go figure it out. And so I did. And with the help of Forbes, we led that project and we installed all the video boards. So at this point, I'm 21 years old and we've installed $18 million of video boards. So then he comes to me and says, hey, Dusick, you did video, you think you can do audio? And I was just young and dumb enough to say yes. So I did. And we designed the PA system at the Speedway, the one that's there now, the outside speakers. And that was 2002. So that was at 15, 17 years. God, I'm getting old. And then since then, we've just kind of been riding this thing out.
Well, somebody said to me that they thought the sound equipment and amplifiers and stuff you got at Best Buy.
Well, that's why I get to travel so much, because I use my Best Buy credit card for all that stuff.
You have founded a company that's in the sound business and quite successful. I think you were here last year and you said you need to hire some people. You need more people, and I think you've hired somewhat 250 or 300, something like that.
No, we had 300 applications.
Oh.
We put something on social media. We had 300 applicants. Sarah, my COO/sister, is here. She's talking to Billy Throckmorton, not paying attention at all. We I don't know how many we hired last year, but we hired a whole new group, and this year was a phenomenal year for us. I don't know the final numbers, but I know in 2018 we did 550 days at a racetrack. So, if I have 5 teams at 5 different tracks on one day, that's 5 days. I know because there's only 365 days, but this year I think we'll be well over 700 working days at a racetrack. So it's just phenomenal, the growth.
So what do you do when you go to a racetrack? I know it's obvious what you said you do here, but do you do essentially the same thing at the racetracks around the country?
Actually, quite the opposite. We're sort of
That's
split.
what I said, to be the opposite.
We're split in two. We do out the audio and all of the pre-race ceremonies and productions and everything that goes into that for the Speedway. But then for all the other series, our real feature has we become an operations company, and then we take the knowledge we learn from operating car races and we design systems to better those operations. So for Matt and Tony, Matt knows this because he was part of our organization, but we have systems that help them create a better fan experience, create better safety experiences, and things of that nature. So most of our guys are in race control, and we are either operating equipment that somebody else owns, like INDYCAR owns their equipment and we operate it, or we're actually providing equipment and we're going in. So right now when they go to a racetrack, they have corner workers, and they have somebody in race control with a radio, and they listen. Well, we have a system. We can go in and put video cameras all around the track and a replay system, and now when you're in race control, you can see the car that's in the gravel trap, and you can make better decisions. You can make decisions quicker. You can make decisions faster. You can make safer decisions. And so we've developed that technology, and it's been growing with great success over the last couple of years.
You were telling me that you're working on, you said a country club, and I started looking for my golf clubs, and you said, no, it's a racer, private racetrack, and you're doing all the electronics with it. What is that? Where is it?
This is so boring. Nobody wants to talk about this. We should tell some stories or something that's fun.
Yeah, but the trouble is the good stories, there's ladies here. You can't tell.
Yeah, most of well, yes, you're right. I've probably been sitting in that booth since 2000, almost 20 years. Anyway, basically, the country club market is very similar to the market that Tony and Matt are in that it's about guys who have cars and they want to drive them. And the country club is a place where instead of taking your rather expensive car, whether it's a vintage race car or a rather expensive street car, and trying to race it around 465 with grandma driving her Honda in the middle lane, now you can go take, or you in the middle lane, now you can go take your $3 million Bugatti and you can race it on a private track. and now you have a safe place to race it. And so that's what a country club racetrack is. You pay a membership, just like you would for a country club golf course. You pay a membership, and you have so many days a year you can go drive your car. And then there's an annual membership, and then there's upsells. You can build a house on the racetrack and have a garage for your cars and all that. There's also rental cars, so you can rent a race car and learn to drive. There's professional pros that teach you. It's a really neat. It's a great model.
Do you own it?
Oh, goodness, no.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
And what are you providing them?
So we're providing all of the racetrack operations technology. So what I say is everything between the guardrails. And so what we've done down there is, because it's a unique situation, and we operate 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, 365 days a year. So I guess 6 days a week would be 312 days a year. But what we've done is we've created a system, and I sort of designed this system to where we can operate without corner workers and minimal staff on the racetrack. So instead of having 10 or 12 people on the racetrack and only 3 guys drive in a day, now you have 1 guy in race control, and we built a race control trailer that has, we have 26 cameras around this 2-mile circuit. We have 21 timelines that track the race cars, so we know where they are every 1.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds. And then we have track safety lights that are like digital flags, and they're electronic flag panels. And so if a race car doesn't go where it's supposed to go, we know where it's at, and we will automatically throw a yellow flag. And if it's bad enough, we'll automatically throw a red flag and shut everything down and go get the guy. And so now you're able to essentially run a 2-mile circuit with minimal people to save operational cost, and honestly safety too, because corner worker stations, a lot of people in this room have worked trackside, and there are safety concerns with where you put flaggers and stuff, and now with technology you can put a track safety light where the driver needs to see it as opposed to where the corner worker is safe. And so we're a long way from it becoming mainstream, but it's definitely the future technology for our sport.
Now, you're taking all this knowledge, and on Thursday night, you make 180 change. There is the Dave Dusick Foundation that, as a result of your health issue, starting at a very young age when you were told, or your parents were told, you ain't going to make it. But you survived. You not only survived, you're thriving. You're a pain in the neck, but you're thriving and doing well. Give us a little update on how this whole thing started, and what your goal is for the Dave Dusick Foundation and Riley's Children's Hospital.
Oh man, the foundation's something that is, and I say this every year when we come and talk about the event, but it's probably the most special thing that happens in my life. Growing up racing cars at 3 years old, to be 42 years old and to have spent the last, however many years in this sport is really a gift. And I'm really grateful for the life I get to live. But then when we start talking about the foundation, all of that gets magnified times 1,000, because you realize that not only do I get to live a dream life, I get to live my life, and there's so many people that have so many struggles, and I went through them, but it really wasn't me. It was my parents, it was my family, it was the people around me, because I was too young to remember. But the foundation is really special. We throw a big party at IMS, and it's I'm proud to say it's probably one of the best parties of the year. Jerry Wilson's still here. Yeah, if you're there, it's a great time. Last year we were in the media center. This year we've outgrown the media center, so now we're in the pavilion at Speedway, and it's a great party. There's industry insiders, there's a lot of drivers. This year we've got an unbelievable list of celebrity bartenders that Brittany White in the back there has put together, and all the proceeds we raise go to Riley Hospital. So it's about having a good time and raising money for the kids at Riley.
And you part of the raising funds is somebody like me going up to the bar. You got a cash bar, and I think you get a little piece of that. And you have a silent auction.
Yep.
And you were telling me there's stuff in there you want, and you asked me, why did you bring stuff in for it? Because I don't want it. I've had it, I've lived it, I've had them 50, 60 years. Give it to somebody to help raise funds, and we've done that. And I dropped it off, and there was quite a bit of stuff in that USAC room.
Yep.
But I quickly about face and left, so I didn't want to see something, ooh, I got to have that. I left. But when is it, where is it, and how can you get a ticket?
Well, I tell you that I really love the history of our sport. And I love, you were talking about the stuff that you donated for us. It's really cool to see the community come together, and everybody sort of does what you did. They go to their basement and they find something that they probably bought at an auction 20 years ago, and they're like, you know what, it's time for this to move on to a new owner. And we've got some really, really cool prizes and some really cool silent auction items. I don't even know the full list. I should get Brittany up here to tell you. But it's always remarkable what comes up. And yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I hate to disagree with you because I didn't go in the basement. Since first off, I don't have one. Number two is I've had these pictures up for years. Now it's time for somebody else to enjoy them because I'm starting to wind down.
I should send you some signed frame pictures of me to put on your wall to replace those.
Howdy, if I get one, I'll give it to you.
Okay, you asked me a question and I didn't answer it. Thursday night, that's the 12th, 2 nights from tonight, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 6 p.m. is when the doors open. Buy your tickets in advance. You can Google I Know Dave Dusick or DaveDusickFoundation.org, and you can get there to the tickets. They're $35 in advance. They go up to $50 at the door. Actually, our staff wants to really put it at $50 because if you look at Rev and the other events that happen that are the caliber of our event, they're $100, $200 tickets. And I made it very clear that there have been a lot of people who supported me for a long time before the Dave Dusick Foundation was anything. And I want to make sure that we keep the tickets in a price range that everybody can be there, no matter who you are. So we keep the tickets at $35, and it's a good time.
You have some members of your staff, I'm sorry to say that in front of them, that are here. Can somebody stop by now? Sitting in the corner back here, she's waving her arms.
The obnoxious one would be a Dusick, sister, #sister not wife. We have 2 tickets we want to give away. How do we do that? You want to do some trivia?
Okay, that's fine.
We want to let's have some fun.
I've been wanting to have fun for about a half an hour now.
Yeah, copy that. Well, let's what do we can do some trivia, or we could it's your show. Let's give a couple tickets away.
Okay.
Let's try to get somebody who's never been there who can really enjoy being a part of the event.
All right, with trivia, ask a trivia question. First answer right gets them. 1.
Oh man, Matt, you gotta help me. We could do indie trivia, but I can't. Everything that let me think about this for a minute.
You know what? I'll recruit that guy to ask a question.
Who's that guy?
Phil, Mr. Trivia, because he'll get it right. So get a question from him.
I know Dave. Who would wear that in public?
That's kind of what I said.
I would. I have one.
Just. She's related. She has to wear it. You know that whole thing started. Somebody put my name on their shirt so they could try to make friends.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
He just had to get the camera wider to get.
Phil, since you're they're telling me you're Mr. Trivia.
Come ask a question.
What?
Who won? Holy cow! Do you know this, Matt? Is it somebody popular? Oh.
It's hard trivia. You should
Okay. So the question is, who won the 1924 Indianapolis 500? We might have to do one that's a little easier.
Phil, you and I can't answer.
Was it you? Were you were there, Howdy? Who was it?
Yeah, no Googling. Let's come up with something a little easier.
Otherwise, I would.
What is Patrick's dog's name?
Oh yeah, I like that. I like the way you think. Here you go. So the world famous. Anybody in this room on Twitter? Okay, that overwhelmingly yes. There's a guy on Twitter by the name of the Orange Cone, and the Orange Cone is infamous in the Twitter social media world. He is one of our celebrity bartenders. We actually sort of outed him. He's been an anonymous creature for several years, and we posted a picture of him with his real name and tagged the Orange Cone, so we outed him this week anyway. He's on Twitter, and he painted a photo of Simon Pagenaud, the winner, and then that's one of the things that will be auctioned off this week. So the question is, what is the name of Simon Pagenaud's dog? Yell it out. That a girl. Sarah, we've got a winner. This is tantalizing radio right now.
Really?
So go back and see the only person in this room who would wear my name on a shirt, and we'll get your email address, and we'll be glad to have you at Racers No DD on Thursday night. Yeah, rock and roll.
All right. That's one. Let's be another one.
Oh, we're gonna give her 2 tickets. She's got friends.
No, she doesn't.
Sure, she does.
No, she doesn't.
I'd say she's got like 17 of them at that table. She's doing just fine,
Are
buddy.
you kidding? She gave each one of them $10 so they could have dinner, and so let her sit there. You notice I didn't get invited.
Oh, to the table?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Hey, look, you and me are the same. You have to have a radio show to get people to hang out with you, and I have to throw my own party. So,
Well, that's all right.
yeah, I understand.
Now,
Is there anything cool we can talk about? Anybody in the audience want to know anything unique and fun about the
Yeah.
behind the scenes of car racing?
yeah, who won the 77 500?
I know that guy.
You do? Oh, she did. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The cute
Okay.
blonde over there, she did it.
Okay. I guess that's it.
Well, Thursday night, 6 o'clock in the pavilion.
The pavilion. Oh, if you're coming, the lights of the Brickyard thing make it really difficult. You have to come in Georgetown Road. Now they've got it all jacked up, and you've got to come in Gate 7, which is the north end of the Tower Suites, Tower Terrace. So you have to come in Gate 7, and then you park there behind the media center, and then walk into the pavilion that way. So, yeah, but come join us, hang out. It's a great time. It's fun for all ages, I think. We've nixed the band. We've had a band the last 3 years. Dave Hunt and the Mac Daddies. We've nixed that in lieu of a DJ, so that there's more networking and chatting opportunities, but also a DJ to keep the vibe up and keep the party rolling.
I know one of the names I remember to be there will be Tommy Johnson Jr.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Will Hinch be around? Charlie Kimball?
Kimball-
I think Charlie's going to be there.
Kimball, I tell you what, I should give all those guys a shout out. I ran Kimball at Laguna Seca at the finale, and he's like, Dusick, I'm there. I'm your first bartender. And I was like, heck yeah, bud. So yeah, Charlie and Kathleen will be there, and they're great people. Yeah, give a round of applause for Charlie. Good people. Fortunately, Connor and Rossi both have an obligation somewhere, and they can't make it. They were awesome last year, so I thank them for being a part. This year, we've got Tommy Johnson Jr. We have a young kid that I've known for a while by the name of Joe Graff Jr., who races in the Xfinity Series and in the ARCA Series. Great kid. Brittany, you're going to have to help race car driver-wise. Oh, yeah, Veach. Zach Veach will be there. Gabby and Gabby will be there.
Chavez?
Yep. Is Gabby bringing Gabby? Yep. So Gabby and Gabby will be there. How cool is it that you marry somebody with your same name? So Gabby Chavez will be there. Zach Veach. Aaron Tielitz will be there from the Road to Indy. They're a huge supporter of ours. From the TV world, we have Amanda Busick, who is on the NHRA side, which is cool because her name is just like mine, except with a B instead of a D. And Jamie Howe, who does IMSA and NHRA and other reporting. Like I said, the Orange Cone, Joe Graff. I'm not sure who else, but it's just a really cool lineup. Oh, Clayton Anderson. If those of you know Clayton Anderson, the country singer, who's a legend here in Indianapolis, he's from Bloomington. He's a great dude, and he's going to show up and bartend for us. So it's going to be really. I honestly, Jerry said it. Jerry Wilson is here, and he's been a supporter of ours for several years. And I want to thank Speedtown Comfort for all they do for our sport and for us.
And he's got a company shirt on, so he's tooting something. What company does he have?
So Speedtown Comfort, he should be a sponsor of this show. You're welcome, I get a commission. Speedtown Comfort, is local HVAC, air conditioning and heating company. They've fixed the heat at my house on several occasions because I'm bad on appliances, and everybody in the sport. Every time my stuff breaks, it's always in the middle of a holiday, and Jerry's the first one there. So Jerry and his team at Speedtown do a great job. But more importantly, they really invest in this sport, and they give back to the sport. They give back to our event. And he said it, though. It's going to be a good time, so I'm super stoked. It'll be a fun party.
Well, if I can find enough money, I was trying to win the ticket, but I didn't get it. So.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm sure you were at the 1924 Indy 500.
Oh. That, I don't want to take the credit away from Howard from having been there.
Hi, buddy.
I really don't. I thank you for taking time coming back from Florida to be here and oversee your people, because it's funny, I called your office and they had everything. I asked you something, I don't know.
You got to understand, and the thing is, this is the truth. It's not just a cliche and completely ironic, but I am literally just the pretty face of my organization these days. So I have my sister Sarah, and then of course Brittany White and the Coops people at Cooper Consulting Events. They do all the work for us, and they do a great job. So I'm very grateful.
And you just walk around,
shake hands and kiss babies, or kiss hands and shake babies, something. Yeah.
Uh-oh, don't start talking about shaking babies. You'll have Nina upset now. We look forward to it. Thanks for being here. And trust me, if you haven't been here, you got to go. It really is a good time.
If all of you show up this year, Don promises to never have me on the show ever again.
We want you here every day.
Really? Oh. And you got T-shirts that you could buy. Is that T-shirt for sale?
Sarah,
is
this T-shirt for sale? The last trivia went so well, I'm not sure we want to expose ourselves to that again.
Anybody here really interested in having...
Sarah's got T-shirts. If you want a T-shirt with my name on it, go see Sarah. I'll give it to you. I'll pay for the donation to Riley, and we'll just promote the event.
All right. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank the president of SVRA for sticking around.
El Presidente.
Tony had to take Kim to dinner. I don't know. He's going White Castle. Where did he say? Taco Bell? Maybe to Panera, yeah. But I thank him for coming, and of course I thank Dave Dusick. If you haven't been to one of his fundraisers for his Dave Dusick Foundation, go. It's worth it. There's a lot of good people, a lot of fun.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt you because I do that a lot. We're thinking about throwing together a golf tournament during the month of May. Do you think that would be a fun thing to do?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah? Think anybody would be interested? Yeah, we'll do it at the Brickyard. Duh. Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll work on it. Thanks, Billy. Thanks for that. Thank you.
Now, just make sure when you have people sign up to play that he's one of them that signs up.
Oh, hey, he'll support me. He's got it. We're good. It's for the kids. It's not for me anyway.
I know that, but do you ever see him hit a golf ball?
That's all right. There'll be beer cart. It'll be fine.
That's right. There you go. Right.
Anyway, you may finish this wrap up. I'm done taking over your show.
Well, I thank you for coming here, and wish you well in your fundraiser and what you do for Riley. In your mind, from what I've talked to you, you're giving back to Riley because they gave to you. They gave you your life, and things have worked out well. And as far as being a pretty face in the organization, okay, I'll give you that one. But thanks for being here.
Who'd have ever thought I'd be a pretty face?
Yeah. Dave Dusick. Now, next week, in case you haven't Tuesday night open, I have some pretty interesting people coming. There is a father and son who are in broadcasting of motorsports. One of them lives here because he's just kind of struggling. The other one is zooming along, and he doesn't live in town. We had to make a special arrangements with his scheduler, but he will be here. It'll be a father and son duo of Vince Welch and his son Dylan. They will both be here.
Dylan is an amazing midget car driver. Did you see the run he had at the BC39 last year?
Yeah.
And then he runs maybe a handful of races a year, and every time he ran the Leffler race and looked phenomenal in that car. Make sure you talk to him about that, because he has an unbelievable
I said,
shoot.
what are you doing? Now that you're not broadcasting, NBC's got you on vacation. He said, I was out and ran the Turkey Night race. I said, how'd you good? I didn't make the feature. but he only gets in the car so often, so that's the way it happens. But they will be here. I've got a couple other things. Next Tuesday, the 17th, will be the last program for 2019. We'll return, I think, January the 7th, I believe. But I have something special, something I've never done before. Last year was something we'd never done. This year we got something else we're going to do that we've never done before. So if you're out and about, come in and see us. I think you'll have a good time. Until next week, Don Kay saying thanks, good night. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Seeing you next week.
All right, Dave, throw me your shirt. Throw me your shirt. There you go.
There you go, buddy.
Awesome.
If it's not the right size, go see Sarah.
All right, well, where it's from? The right size?
You gave that to me.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you very
If you
much.
haven't gotten a copy of Speed Tour, there's 3 left. And if you haven't got what about the lights at the Brickyard, and this magazine that Tony puts out is not some cheap rag you get in a grocery store. It's top quality. So grab a copy. Thanks.
Take a picture of our
Okay. We'll do that. That'll be awesome. Here, well, if I can take a picture. Yeah, you got my card.